Welcome to Coach's Corner, everybody. Thanks for watching the show. Wednesday night, another edition of Four Wheel Drive with Bill Pendock and Blaze Winter. Guys, thanks for joining the show again this week.
Hey, it's always great to be with you.
Absolutely, Paulie.
Man, well, we're going to get talking about it. Folks, these are two Syracuse linemen, two of the four-wheel drive, which included Jamie Kimmel and Timmy Green, all NFL players. Just a great group of thing. And before we'll talk a little bit about Syracuse later on in the show. But this week's segment subject is injuries and the effects that they have on you years later. Guys, we've been talking about this off air for quite a while now. And since this is the four-wheel drive show, I want to start and talk about you four and the injuries that you guys have accumulated from football mostly. But now that you're up there in age, like we are 60, talk about what you guys have gone through. And I want to start with you, Blaze, first. How many surgeries have you had in your life, and what is it? What are the effects? And just talk about that.
I'm sure Billy feels the same way. This might be a 4-part series. I mean, oh my Lord. I mean, college, I feel lucky that I got through 4 years with soft tissue injuries. Bone bruises. I remember the day, Billy, that I was getting these huge deposits on my biceps. And and that was the worst part because they were very painful. And at Syracuse, I was eating so much and drinking so much high calcium beverages, milk, that I was getting these deposits, hard deposits, and that Don Lowe would make a donut and put them around the deposits so that when I made a collision, I had a collision on a tackle. They were a little painful, but they were painful because my body wasn't absorbing calcium. But if you look inside, I was fortunate to get through college and keep playing. As George O'Leary always say to us, if you don't practice, you're not going to play.
Right.
And so it was always about, hey, man, you got to put the time in if you want to play on the field. And then in the NFL, it was just one train wreck after another. I mean, it was just, I've had 8 knee surgeries on my left knee, 3 shoulders on my right shoulder, 3 surgeries on my shoulder, 3 on the elbow, 3 on the elbow, 3 on the wrist, 3 on the wrist, a hand. I mean, it's constant current living with pain. Billy knows what I'm talking about. It's just never, it never ends on top of a brain tumor that nobody seems to really understand. Well, how did that happen in 2017? I was laying on the floor, and my wife had seen me laying on the floor quite often in 2017. I was done with football. I was done with coaching. Wow. And I was laying on the floor, and she's like, man, why are you always tired? And I'm like, I'm old and beat up. I'm old and beat up. You have to understand, you're married. I was been in martial arts football forever. And she said, no, there's something else wrong with you. You're up all night. And I said, yeah, I have to pee every 30 minutes. I have to go to the bathroom. And she said, something wrong with you, Blaze. How much weight have you lost?
Yeah.
And I was down to 222. And finally I got an MRI done in my head, and it revealed a brain tumor. And Mayo Clinics in Jacksonville went through my nose and removed it, or removed most of it. Now we're managing the rest of it. It was wrapped right around my pituitary, and it was craniopharyngioma. And that's been the biggest bump in the road for me physically. I live with the knee pain. I live with the elbows. I live with not feeling my hands very much. But man, when it affects your brain and the ability to function daily because you're on $1,500 in medicine a month
Wow.
that the NFL will not cover.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's crazy.
The pharmaceutical industry is charging more and more and more. And if you don't have the money, I'm fortunate enough to be able to handle that. But he wants me on more medicine I can't even find myself affording. I have an 11-year pension in the NFL. I can't afford it. When I go to the NFL for help, their response is, well, prove it. Prove that it came from football. And I'm like,
just read League of Denial. Read the book League of Denial. They denied CTE. We're going to talk a little bit about that later on. But Blaze, I'm glad you brought that up. It's an outrage that the NFL does not take care of the players. Everybody's
they're making, as we all know, Billy, they're making trillions of dollars. We can see it coming by the day. They're investing in players and more coaches on the sideline than ever before that are all making their $1 million or more. All the coaches, all 25, 30 of them. And it's a shame to have people almost on the street handing, with their hand out, asking for donations. It's ridiculous. They threw $50,000 at us a number of years ago for an HRA, a health recovery account. I went through that in less than 2 years. 2 years. And I know a lot of my brothers like Billy and others that have played, and they're this close to being on the road, on the street. And the NFL doesn't want them in the street, so they help them just enough to say, hey, man, you keep your little apartment. And I'm a very lucky man. Don't get me wrong. But I'm a very beat up human being. I know Billy is too.
Yeah.
People should know that. I'm glad you shared that with me, Blaze. That's why we're doing this show. The NFL is not responsible.
Hey, I'm so mad over the fact that now that I'm on this side of it, I understand other people. I mean, if Tim wasn't doing well, Jim Green, getting the medicine he gets, he wouldn't be here with us. He wouldn't be enjoying another day. I'm sure Jamie's doing, probably pretty beat up too. I know Billy is with a knee replacement. And the way this is being handled by, the NCAA and the NFL is a joke. It's a joke.
It is.
We're walking around. Well, what did you do for us? I filled stadiums for you.
Right.
I played
Hey, the players are making $50 million a year now. $50 million, and they don't want to take care of the ex-NFL players. That's an outrage. Billy, how many knee replacements have you had that you've had to fork the money out for?
Oh boy. And to Blaze's point, it's it goes back to college now. I mean, the money that the revenue that's coming in, the money everywhere, but the players and the retired guys are not seeing nothing. I mean, even out of college with all the stuff going on. But, injury-wise, to Blaze's point, in college, we were kind of lucky, semi-lucky, but – and then playing on AstroTurf was a big, huge difference in knee problems, and not to mention all the turf burns, the infections from turf burns, the stuff that happened after you got the turf burns to get an infection that lasted up to a month long. But, my list goes on and on. I mean, I've had eight knee surgeries, 4 replacements, my back done twice, my hands done. It's not a day goes by where it takes at least a half hour to 45 minutes just to get up in the morning, but
you do, huh? Yeah.
And a big thing and a great thing to look at now is the change in times. We played in an era of, we didn't know how many concussions we had. I could count maybe 5 or 6, but it could have been 8 or 10. But to Blaze's point, you didn't come out of the game, Paulie. You remember you played the same era we did. I mean, if you came out of the game, you didn't go back in. So many a day you'd get in the huddle, you didn't know what play it was, you didn't know what day it was, that kind of thing. That happened to numerous of us, and many of my buddies, Blaze will tell you, a lot of guys, and the suicides that cost, the CTE stuff, everything.
Oh, we're gonna get into that, yeah. But Billy, we're gonna talk about that, Billy. I want to talk a little bit. Go ahead, Blaze.
There are layers to this that we're just sort of throwing a lot at the wall right now, but obviously, all right, the knee, the shoulder, the elbow, of course, that's part of playing football. We understand that. When people ask me, would you do it again? Absolutely. I love my sport. But the fact of the matter is the NFL has and the NCAA has the ability to take care of us if there's an ongoing issue that is created from football repetitive trauma. There is the ability. Their business is not to get involved with that. But let's look at in general in our society, the old folks are not cared for. They're thrown in homes to rot and die. And you can say whatever you want about, we care about their wisdom. We don't care about their wisdom at all. We care about the fact that what can you do lately? And that is what it is other people still do. Eventually, a hyperextension of my left knee led me out of football. My hyperextended 25 degrees in the middle of the field because of an illegal leg whip. Remember those, Billy? A leg whip. Dave Cadigan. Oh, I'd love to have you in the corner of a room, Dave Cadigan. Because you know what? I tried to jump over his leg. I should have known better because I don't jump very high. And he leg whipped me right bullseye on my knee. And it went backwards 25 degrees.
Wow.
Snapping 3 ligaments and driving the tibia down into the lower bones. And it took 3 surgeries, 2 by Dr. Andrews in Alabama to get me to even walk. And it eventually let me out of the league because Marv Levy said to me when I signed with Buffalo in 95, you're having a hard time with that knee, aren't you? And I said, no, I'm all right. No, don't be proud. Don't be proud. Be honest. You're having a hard time with your knee. You should think about now, hey, take some of your money and relax a little bit. And I said, I'm still playing. He said, we all go through this. And we all do, don't we, Billy? Well, it's hard to let go, man. It's hard to let go.
Go ahead, Billy.
When I left the NFL and went to Canada, I planned on coming back, but 2 back surgeries, and then you sit down with the league, and you got to sign a waiver and sign off, and you might not walk again. So that's the question you have, and it's and to Blaze's point again, I mean, at least take care of some of these guys that played. I mean,
they're not taking care of them. They're not taking care of them. They don't care about them. Okay. Let's talk.
One more point. You have to understand you're talking to 2 people, PennDOT and Winter, that would do anything for their team. Again, the mentality is different now. You watch the boys in college or big-time college D1 or pro, they remove themselves from the field.
Right.
We would have a limb hanging off the bottom of our body, an elbow that would be hyperextended. We're bleeding from a open wound like the MMA fights, and we're out there playing because, well, you're allowed to play with blood. And, well, if you go to that sideline, someone's going to tell you, get your ass back in there. And the mentality of people like Billy and I were different. And the majority of the people that we were around raised us to be that way. We were raised to be team-oriented. We were raised to care about our brothers. We were raised to be something more. This is why, the last I'll say, this is why I'm telling Syracuse, wearing this shirt in pride, I'm telling Syracuse, that picture behind you of the four-wheel drive should be honored because every player on that Syracuse team should know that team is most important. Team is most important. And if we have a great group of players that are committed to excellence through pain and suffering, the outcome will most likely be better for each and every person on that team. That's the way I feel. And I'm very hot over this because I'm not playing. I have a bruise on my thigh. What? What? You have a bruise where? What? And that's why I can't coach anymore. That's why a guy like O'Leary can't coach. That's why a guy like Saban can't coach. That's why a guy like Mark D'Antonio, Jim Tressel can't coach.
Right.
It is a monstrous undertaking because I has become more important than we.
Yeah, the money drives, and money's the root of all evil. Let's talk about the other two on your four-wheel drive. Timmy, of course, has got the worst of it out of all of us. He has ALS.
Yeah.
I don't know how Jamie's doing, but you guys with umpteen surgeries, both of you guys, all of the ailments that you have. I came out pretty unscathed. I was pretty lucky. I've got my issues, but they're nothing compared to you guys, and nothing compared to my teammates, Kerry Good, Timmy Green, also Kevin Turner had died of ALS, Steve Gleason, the great DB for the New Orleans Saints when they come back and won the Super Bowl. You know, Chuck Carter in 2010. He was a friend of mine. He was diagnosed with ALS, and I coached his son, Caden, at Catholic High School. So I helped Caden through that with his dad, but he only lived a few years.
Well,
And, I have a friend of mine that knows Kathy Jordan. Kathy Jordan was diagnosed with ALS in 1986. She just died July 4th. And she believed, she's the longest living ALS patient in history at 38 years. But she believed that the turf caused a lot of the ALS players in the NFL. That's what she believed in her research. I'm not so sure about it. I think head trauma has a lot to do with the ALS. Talk about Timmy and how many ALS. And I want you to talk about Junior Seau, because Junior Seau had CTE. We're going to talk about CTE in a minute. But talk about Timmy and Jamie and how they're doing injury-wise.
I got a chance to see Jamie about a year ago, maybe a year and a half. I seen him at his home, and much like the rest of us, he's not showing it, and he won't talk about it because he's just a different cat, but he had a bunch of knee surgeries in college, and he has trouble walking. I mean, he's been down that road. Blaze, how many years did he play? Do you remember in the league?
I believe 8. I want to say 8 with the Raiders.
Okay. But
7 or 8.
But
all right, so wait a minute. Let me stop right there, Billy. He played 8, you played almost 12. Billy played 3 or 4 years. Timmy played 8 or 10. What is that? Like 40 years of NFL experience from the four-wheel drive?
All boys from New York State, coached by the great George O'Leary from New York. That's unheard of, man. It'll never be another group like us.
It'll never happen again. It'll never happen again.
It won't. It won't. That's why we fight. That's why Billy's has fought for years. Just have us put in a bathroom on a poster in Syracuse's new multi-million-dollar John Lally Center, just to put us in a bathroom somewhere near your toilet paper. And have them look at you while you're taking a crap. Have them look at us and what we were all about. I mean, you want teams that want to win, man almighty, I'll tell you, all you have to do is look and measure by the commitment made by the four-wheel drive, the commitment made by the Purple People Eaters, the commitment made by the Steel Curtain. You want to look at a great defense? Look at the Steeler defense back in those days. They're all about one another. Look at Ham and Lambert. Oh, my Lord, man. These are dudes that would carve your soul out by giving their own.
ALS is a terrible disease, man. Terrible disease.
It is.
So is CTE. Let's talk about CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy. I read the book I've read about Dr. Bennett Amalu. I've seen it's a progressive degenerative disease affecting people who have suffered repeated concussions and traumatic brain injuries. Okay, Blaze, I have had 3 former teammates that had CTE that have committed suicide. All 3 played DB in the NFL. My question is, how many more are there out there that we don't know about? All right. There's a stigma in this country about mental illness and mental diseases. And after the movie Concussion, okay, I thought society would be outraged by this. But no, it was just like they got pushed in the background. And I think it's like, is that a way that society copes? Is that their coping mechanism? Just brush it under the rug and everybody will forget about it? I think that's a sad comment in our society when stuff like that happens.
Let me tell you, before Blaze gets in, let me tell you, Paulie, you there or did you go?
Yep, I'm here, brother.
My personal experience, and I've had, and Blaze can tell, I've been involved in at least 6 to 8 concussions that I know about. Now, I can tell you from my own experience, the past 10, 15 years, the ringing in your ears, the blackouts all the time. I go out to places and for a split second of anywhere between 5 minutes and 15 minutes, you don't know where you are. Okay. And I've sat on a bench at Walmart and I forgot where my truck was. I come home at night and you got to try to meditate or do something to stop the ringing in your ears and the black spots that are opening and going in front of your face. Now, that's CTE at about a midline level. Now, I'm trying like hell to stay off medication. And the medication and the drugs is behind what's causing a lot of these suicides. These guys are going through this and they can't deal with the side effects of this stuff that's going on. And and we lost Chris Gedney a few years back. I don't know if you remember this.
No, did we really?
Old guy, Syracuse guy. Now, everybody's talking about whether it was the drinking. He became an alcoholic, I guess, from what I heard.
Yeah.
And the circumstances were kind of blurry. But here's a guy that ended up. I think I'm not going to go into the whole story, but one of his kids found him. So you guys can go on from there. But I can tell you, and I don't know what Blaze is feeling, but this thing is a real thing, and they can't treat it until they don't know enough about treating it.
Yeah, they can't diagnose it in living humans. They can't diagnose it.
Right, but it's there and it's real. And I can tell you that there's days where I'm good for a week or two, everything is fine, and then I'm sitting in a dark room for maybe a half hour to 3 hours, just trying to deal with the constant ringing or the constant voices in your ear.
All right, Blaze, tell us about your good friend Junior Seau and what a great teammate, a great person he was, and the tragedy of CTE, and just a beautiful soul.
I was sitting. Actually, let me start this way. Playing with Junior Seau was a certain degree of fulfillment. When you have somebody that talented, that motivated, that and his pure desire to achieve was just everywhere. It wasn't just on the field. I'm talking about the practice field. I'm talking about in the community. He's a proud man. And everything he does, he was worshipped in the NFL and especially Southern California. Anyway, I'm sitting many years later. It's 2012, and I'm sitting in my office at UCF, working for George O'Leary, and that's when I received a call, and Junior. They wanted to ask me how I felt about Junior passing away. And it was one of the reporters from ESPN. And I felt my first reaction was, how dare he? How dare he do that? I mean, we all would have been there in a matter of hours, if not minutes, to help him. Later on, I would find out it's really not about that. It's about understanding the state of mind he was suffering with.
Right.
At first I thought, well, he had a broken marriage, he had things, other things going on, and in that type of Samoan background, I mean, are really detrimental to his outlook. But then later on, I would find out, no, man, Blaze, he really was suffering with trauma from years of playing football and being a middle linebacker.
Right.
That would have 200 tackles more a year. You imagine grinding with these running backs like Marion Butts and Natron Means. And I remember the joyful person he was on the practice field where Bill Armsparkler would tell him, hey, man, we're not playing today, Junior. And he would look at he would Armsparkler and say, well, get me off the field because I don't know any other way.
Whoa.
Bill would say, just let him run the play. And he would say, no, you got to learn to block me because they block me, they'll block anybody. And he was committed. He was one of those guys that was committed. Him and Gary Plummer. I mean, what a set of linebackers in every way, shape, and form. But he suffered in private. He suffered like Billy suffers and like I suffer, with ringing in the ears, with headaches, with anxiety, with I'm not using depression because it's used every other day. And I think people are abusing that term.
Right.
But there are real people that suffer from depression, and it hurts. It hurts. It is dreadful to be empty inside. But again, this goes full circle back to the NFL threw a few $1 million at concussion. They threw a few $1 million when they have the right to say, we have a problem here.
It was a joke. It was a joke. The concussion lawsuit was a joke. I went to the doctors in Mobile, Tallahassee. It's a total scam joke. People don't understand it.
But we did not have the right representation on the other side.
Right.
That was pounding the table saying, no, man, this is deeper than you think. Right. And does it, for Junior, his only way out was putting a bullet in his head or chest. I'm not sure what was it, head or chest. Anyway, he put a bullet in himself. I mean, who to be that in that state of mind,
yes,
that this world-class Hall of Fame athlete,
yes,
out of USC is contemplating killing himself. He had the world by the nuts. He had millions of dollars in the bank.
Right.
You got to ask yourself, man, what was bothering him? His
what
brain
was wrong with him? Yeah.
scrambled eggs.
Right.
His brain was a mess.
Yep.
Like Billy's is a little bit, mine is a little bit, not to that extent. Have I thought about bad things? Yeah, I have. And people say, well, you should report it. Most of us don't report stuff. We come from a breed of cat animal that keeps what? Personal pain to ourselves.
Right.
And the NFL loves when we keep it to ourselves. But in this show, thank God to you and all those that are part of this show, no, man, we're going to talk about it. And Junior Seau should be living today.
Let's talk about it. Let's
inspiring a whole new generation of people.
Let's talk about these guys. I mean, Bobby Kemp, Bobby Futrell, two of my DBs at Tampa Bay, committed suicide before they were 40 years old. I know them. I worked with them. I lived with those guys. I know their personality. They would never do that. Benny Parent, a free safety at Alabama, who I got my number 23. You can't see it, but it's usually behind me. I got my number 23 from Benny Parent, 7-year St. Louis Cardinal. Committed suicide before he was 50 years old. These are great people, man. These are beautiful, hardworking, successful people that, because of the NFL, because of the concussions and the stuff, have just withered away and committed suicide. And their brain, like you said, everybody should read The League of Denial. You read that book, and you will understand that the NFL not only doesn't care, but they lied and they hid it and they tried to bury it.
No hiding anymore, man. The NFL doesn't care.
They don't care.
Not
The
care.
NFL does not care.
Making billions and trillions of dollars and looking. They have a great marketing department. They have a great PR campaign. They're smooth and clean in every shape or form to the 8-year-old, 10-year-old, 15-year-old. And then you find out if you're fortunate enough, then people will say to me, though, if I am fortunate enough, why are you complaining? Because I should be left a wreck. Not when there's money. If there's no money, I understand I'm a wreck and I deserve it. I understand what I signed up for. Billy does too.
Yeah, you can't throw away people and use them like the NFL does, and then claim no responsibility and no factors. The doctors have examined the brain tissue of deceased NFL victims, 345 of 376, 92% NFL players whose brains have been autopsied had CTE. Think about that, folks. Think about that. That is an outrage.
When they closed the books, when the lawyers got together, the lawyers that we hear about on TV, every other commercial is a lawyer for a reason. We're a sick world. Every other commercial is a medicine. It's a sick society. We have to understand that they closed the book and the NFL smiled, and then the representative for the players walked away with, oh, look how good we did. And they realized how stupid they were because they walked away giving them a way out. And now we have continued players suffering, or they're on life support, meaning we're giving them just enough to make sure they won. They do it.
I don't know how Timmy Green, all of our teammate, Timmy Green, All-American at Syracuse, Rhodes Scholar, first round pick of the Falcons, was a color commentator for Fox on the NFL games for years, and he has ALS, and there's a prevalent amount of people that I know that, so it has to be related to football, has to be related to that kind of stuff. Now, Timmy, I understand, has some new technology, AI technology, but Kerry Good, they're all friends, and they all in a community. And I was intrigued by this lady who lived 38 years with ALS and why she lived so long. I was hoping I could help my friends, my ALS afflicted friends with this terrible disease. If she could live 38 years, I'd sure like my old teammates to live 38 years. But so I'm going to do more research on it and find out more.
Well, I think two things that are needed is massive financial support and incredible intelligence. Tim has incredible intelligence and he has some financial support, and that combination, you're going to probably hold on and do what you have to do for a few more years than most.
Yeah.
And that part of what we're talking about is horrible. If you talk about Tunch Ilkin, you talk about Steve McMichaels, you talk about the amount of players that I know very well and worked with in many different ways, to see them. It's the most painful thing, isn't it, Billy? To see Tim.
When's the last time you've seen Timmy, boys?
What's that?
When's the last time you actually seen Timmy?
I would say it's been probably about a year now.
Okay.
About a year. And when I saw him last, I was actually, I think I said it to you, I was amazed. Because the time before that I saw him about a year earlier, I thought, oh boy. And maybe it was just the overall shock. It's hard to see somebody suffering with ALS that was a premier athlete. It is hard to see your friends in the neighborhood that have ALS, because it's so blatantly painful to see somebody lose almost everything.
Well, their minds are the last to go, and thank God, because Kerry Good has such wisdom. If you don't follow him on Facebook, you're missing a lot. Following Kerry Good's wisdom on Facebook. And his book, The Good and Faithful Servant, is a must-read for everybody. But the NFL even denied him, a man with ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. The NFL is denying them benefits. That is just a freaking outrage that should not happen. People don't realize that. They'll deny and deny and deny, even to this day. I wouldn't ever try to get a claim again. I went through that concussion lawsuit, just because it was, I thought it was the right thing to do. But there's going to be. I played like a year, man. They did the concussion payout based on how many years you were in the NFL too. They did that. So, for instance, if you were in the NFL 5 years or longer, they'll pay you like 100% of their bullshit benefits if you get approved. If you only played 4 years, you get 70%, 80%. If you only played 3 years, you get 50%. If you played 2 years, you get 25%. I think mine was like 10% of any benefit that I would get. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, they throw at it what? We're going to change some of the rules. All right, that's great. We're going to change some of the rules. We're going to be behind flag football, and we're going to try to get kids doing that contact football. We're not worried about the youth playing football because their impact is not such that you're left bleeding out your nose.
Right.
Billy and I have had impact so hard that you're bleeding out your nose after the tackle because the impact was so hard, right, Billy?
Well,
the impact was so hard, blood vessels in your eyes that pop. And
your head was the lead. Your helmet was your number one lead. Back when we played, that was your weapon you used, right? Your head and helmet. That was.
Oh yeah, I used it.
Line.
Oh, I used it once against FM in Liverpool, and O'Leary, after I hit somebody, O'Leary says you're out of the game, and I thought he was kicking me out of the game. I'm like, Coach, what am I out of the game for? No, the referee just saw that you use your head spear.
Well, there's still going to be a generation of people. There's going to be a generation of players, a group of players that are going to sort of fade away, like Billy and I eventually, and just sort of bye-bye. And then there's going to be a new set of standards. And I'm sure the test results will be better because of the rule changes, because of flag football, because of, these things where players self-control by leaving the game without a coach telling you to leave because, I don't feel good.
Right.
And, there's been a certain degree of acceptance. And we're going to hear a lot about that through the Olympics. Because of Simone Biles, we're going to hear about, hey man, what is your state of mind? Are you all right? Are you confident? Are you feeling good? And if someone says I'm mentally not feeling good, it's open. The coaches now have to say, okay, somebody else get in there for them. They have to. For us, no, man, you're not going anywhere. You're staying out there.
Right. Right, under intense. We talked. I didn't talk anything about my injuries, but I remember in Canada, I was playing for Toronto, and we're playing a team, and I went in for a tackle. My old linebacker, Willie Pless, all Big 8 linebacker, hit me, and I only wear the helmet and shoulder pads were the only pads that I wore. He hit me, and my mouthpiece came out, and I got the wind knocked out of me. So I went off to the sidelines, and I could only go real quick. I couldn't take a deep breath. I thought I got the wind knocked out of me. I went back in the game. I finished the game, and I was playing with a collapsed lung. Now, they would never let somebody play football with a collapsed lung now, but I could have easily died that day and that night. They actually called me to come to the hospital the next morning. So those days, are pretty much gone. But yeah, we went through some pretty crazy stuff, and I just want to thank you guys for doing the show every week and highlighting the four-wheel drive in Syracuse and talk about these kind of issues that need to be talked about.
Well, thank you, Billy. I love you, brother, and for everyone to know that is watching and listening. My son Cordell Winter, check him out. He's an amazing rock musician, singer-songwriter. He'll be heading up to Chicago this week to play at Tin Roof, and then he's heading over to Sturgis to play and lead off for Quiet Riot. So we're really excited for him, his growth and his persistence. So if you're out there, watch him, follow him, and support the young man because, man, he's doing it all by himself in a tough business.
One more thing before we go. How was your Vegas trip? I guess you were speaking out there with one of the Hanson brothers. Billy and I were talking before you came out how much we love hockey.
I'm sorry I missed the show. He is an amazing man. He's really a humble dude. It's amazing how that movie has changed his life. And it's absolutely, and not his hockey.
Blaze, where were the other two? Why was just?
I don't know, but he's the one that traveled in and did this with me, and I mean, just amazing the stories he has of what a movie has done for his life. And the 50th anniversary is coming up soon, and supposedly there's something else being planned. And he shared his meaning of what was the guy, the Newman in the movie. That guy in the movie.
Paul Newman.
Slapshot. Dave Hanson and Slapshot.
But it was fun to hear him really share more about the movie moments and the accolade. They could not go anywhere without lines and lines of people wanting to meet him. And that's the power of obviously a different profession.
Right.
Believe it or not, it's probably the most powerful profession that Billy and I should have been in, right, Billy? We should have been in the movie.
Yeah.
We should have been in the movies.
I don't think we were good. We weren't probably good looking enough, maybe.
Well,
we would have had
movies, Billy. You could have been in X-rated movies, right, Billy?
Probably,
Oh, Billy, come on, man. We have a lot of behind-the-scenes stories we can tell, but hey, maybe that should be left for another day.
That's another story.
Billy's a bouncer, man. Billy's a bouncer. I don't know. Maybe reality TV we would have made it, but that's not it.
Billy's the best, man. He was the rock of the four-wheel drive, the one that got no attention, and he won. He held the fort, man. There was not a better nose guard in the country that year. Not a better nose guard, and he made us all stars, man. He made us all stars.
Yeah, Syracuse practice football starting in a couple of weeks, so we'll be talking football coming up here pretty soon, guys. Hey, thanks again. Appreciate it. Four-wheel drive. Go, man.
Paulie.
See you guys.
See you, Billy. See you, Paulie.
Go on.
Care, Blaze.
Go on, buddy. Man, what another great episode, Four-Wheel Drive. Those guys are a lot of fun, man. They're really interesting. They're really brilliant, and hope you got something out of it. As we were talking injuries and the effects that it have, maybe people don't realize all the injuries that former NFL players do have, and mental, physical, soft tissue, everything that you can think of, ALS, CTE. It's prevalent. It should be out there. It should be talked about, and should not be ignored or pushed under the rug. So stay tuned for these great messages. Of course, this show is brought to you by Hill Kelly Dodge, our title sponsor. Have a great sports night, everybody. So long.
There's a reason why Hill Kelly in Pensacola is the #1 selling Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram dealer between Jacksonville and New Orleans. While other dealers have taken advantage of a competitive market with higher prices, Hill Kelly has discounted prices to the lowest of the year. And Hill Kelly in Pensacola won't surprise you with excessive charges beyond the selling price. Come see why people from Milton, Pace, Foley, Bay Minette, Daphne, Gulf Shores, Mobile, and beyond are driving to Hill Kelly in Pensacola to buy their next new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, or Ram. At Hill Kelly, the bottom line price and your satisfaction are what really matter. So before you sign, check the bottom line and make the trip to Hill Kelly in Pensacola to see what true local ownership can do for you. At Hill Kelly Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Highway 29 in Car City, Pensacola. Or shop online 24/7 at hillkellydodge.com. When it comes to bottom line pricing, nobody beats a Hill Kelly deal. Nobody.
75 years of service in high tech today. It's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348. High tech is a term often applied to advanced services and products in today's marketplace. And today, glass is much more than the simple painted brittle, see-through stuff we hit baseballs through when we were kids. Glass is now a product with unique flexibility in both performance and application. And Pensacola Glass Company is growing right along. That's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348.
Are you riding around in a filthy vehicle? Dirty car no more. Visit Ronnie's Car Wash today to get it shining in no time. They have 3 convenient locations with another coming soon. The unlimited monthly wash packages start as low as $14.95 per month with free vacuums, multi-purpose spray and towels. Visit them in Gulf Breeze, Navarre, Fort Walton, and soon Crestview. Don't wait, wash today. Be sure to see Ronnie's Car Wash on Facebook to see the latest specials and discounts. You'll be riding and shining in no time.
That's you trying to fix the plumbing yourself to save a few bucks. Doing things yourself doesn't always end well. The same goes for insurance. That's why Auto Owners works with local independent agents who tailor coverage to meet your needs and offer discounts for life, home, car, and business insurance. Because sometimes you need a professional to get the job done right. That's simple human sense.
Drive a little to save a lot on 170 Buicks and GMCs at Step 1 Buick GMC. Get savings up to $4,000 on new Buick Encores, $9,450 on new Buick Envisions, $7,000 on new GMC Yukon XLs, or up to $15,345 off on new Sierras. Only at Step 1 Buick GMC, Pensacola. Plus tax, tag, title, license, dealer processing fee expires 7/31/24 on select new 24 in-stock models. Discount off MSRP includes all incentives.